Kevin and gang, you are back live in the Secret Stash, hanging out with my man John Forrest Hilbert and David Parker of Anderson, Hilbert, and Parker. Do you guys have Anderson like in the car or something? Has he got the AC on idling?
We don't know where he is anymore.
Yeah.
So. We liked his name.
Yeah, I got it. Of course, trying to maybe give a little understanding and sprinkle some consciousness around this concept of what you guys do in the frame that's going to apply to everyone, right? So Stash Nation, listening right now, hearing you guys for the first time, maybe a good place to start is kind of taking a half step back. So let's say that you're in a cocktail party, right? And you're sipping some cocktails and someone approaches you because you look so good and dapper, and they're like, hey, what do you guys do? Well, what's your typical response to that?
Well, we are real estate litigators. Sometimes I joke that we fight over dirt. And
I'm going to give you a point for that one. That's a good one.
But dirt is important to many people, and that's why we've been doing it for quite a long time. You mentioned Steve Anderson. He was a mentor to both David and I, and he started the firm back in 1975. I joined up in 82. David came along later, and David and I and our partner Jason are the ones that are running and operating the firm now. And real estate, we do business litigation as well, but real estate litigation is probably our first professional love, and it's fascinating to us, maybe not fascinating to everybody, but we truly love figuring out the puzzles and helping clients through their real estate issues.
Yeah, and David, I love what you said at the break there. I'd hate to have that little chunk of wisdom go unheard. You used a great analogy to kind of describe what it is that you guys do. Could you share that again?
Well, we are. I'm trying to remember, Jesse, what analogy I made. We if people told us when we were back in law school that we were going to litigate over title issues or ownership issues to real estate, we'd have thought that is dry as dust. Are you kidding me? And what the truth about it is people are extraordinarily passionate about real estate. It's where they live. They're very emotional about their property. And as a result, you end up seeing people's better angels and worse angels every day in the practice. And every time you think you've seen an issue 10 times, 20 times, 100 times, you learn that every case is different. So this is a job that reinvents itself for us every day. And just when we think we're a little bit humble. We're very proud. We have a really good record in terms of our litigation success. But one of the things that helps that is a bit of humility, because just when you think that you know everything, that's when you're getting dangerous and you have to take a step back, because this is an area of law that's constantly evolving. And so John and I get to learn every day. And we have cross-pollination in this firm. We go from office to office with problems. And we have people who've been doing this a good long time who have wisdom that you didn't think about. And so you get 2, 3, 4 different perspectives on how to solve a problem. And that's what we love to do.
It's almost, and it's, you're almost kind of like on this theater. It's almost like a stage, is it not?
Yeah. A trial lawyer is like a professional storyteller.
Yeah. I totally get that.
We write. Our written presentation is incredibly important because you're trying to persuade a court.
You're creating a narrative.
You're creating a narrative. And we act when we show up in court and argue, or when we're trying a case to either a court or a jury. You are acting. You are telling a story. And your ability as an advocate to persuade depends on how well you communicate the facts and whether people believe you and credit you and your story as truthful, which is an amazing story. When I first came and sat down with Steve Anderson and Barney Mann, who formerly ran this firm, I thought, my gosh, these are some of the brightest human beings I've ever met, some of the kindest human beings I've ever met.
Yeah, and you guys are like, you are lawyers, right?
Yeah. And that's a common misconception. I think a lot of people think that I need to hire a lawyer who's like a shark, who's going to be the biggest jerk.
Happens in my business too.
And it is absolutely wrong. That person doesn't win. Because you don't want to listen to that person. Right. You don't want to credit that person. They might win a battle or two by being a bigger jerk. But in the end, this is a service business.
Yeah.
And
well said. That gets a point.
And so courts care about how you treat other people. Juries see how you treat other people. And if you're an idiot, if you're a jerk, they don't like that.
Go ahead.
I was just going to add the key to presenting this play and scripting it is the truth, because we're firm believers in the truth will set you free. And there are many truths in cases. And when you present a case to a court, either in written work or verbally, telling the truth is the most important aspect of that process, because juries and judges see through that if you do not.
And that's what sinks in.
Right.
When someone is lying, right, or being ingenuine, then it has the thin clink of the inauthentic.
The truth resonates.
The truth definitely resonates. It's like that old Margaret Mead quote. We were just talking about this before going live. It's like, no one remembers what you did, no one remembers what you said, but they'll always remember the way you made them feel. And there's so much information that's coming at them in the course of being, the entire trial. What do they go back into the room with? How you made them feel. Who felt, of course you're looking at the facts and stuff, but it's that thing that resonates most deeply. I mean, that's where the decision is coming from. Is it not?
Absolutely. And, some people think that they need to hide the facts or really just de-emphasize the bad facts. The truth is that you lose credibility with the trier of fact, the jury, the judge. When you do that, you gain credibility because it's not a perfect world. The jury empathizes and understands that people have problems, that transactions don't always go the right way, and that's why you're there.
Yeah.
And so you have to actually open up and embrace those bad facts, those problems, and explain them so that the jury understands where you're coming from and why you're in this position.
And I love what you said earlier too, because it's like anybody with a shingle can get through a decision, right? If everything goes perfect inside of a vacuum. But in all your experience combined, has anything ever gone exactly as planned?
No.
Right, exactly. You get in there and then the you-know-what hits the you-know-where, and then that's when you got to have the best. That's when the team bandies up, you figure it out, and at that point in time, if you've been running on false pretenses, your thing is going to fold down like a lawn chair, right?
That's correct.
And conversely, if you've been running on principle and you've had the narrative the entire time and the people who are listening to your story, you're resonating deeply with them, you're able to make that course correction to stay on track.
Litigation is definitely a process. Cases are a process. They are living things that grow and change all the way through from the beginning, and when you file the lawsuit to the time you try it, even after you try it and you take it up on appeal. There are always new aspects of it, either legal or factual, that you have to deal with that may change the nature of the presentation or the strategy or the resolution strategy. Yeah. So it's not black and white. Nothing in the law is black and white. There are always gray areas of the law.
If you could pinpoint one thing that you see come across your desk, proverbially, so to speak, most often, you might say, like, this is the biggest misconception that you would love to obliterate, right? That seems to be just woven into the general consciousness of everybody when you meet them at the beginning. What would that be? And what would you do to obliterate it?
Picking up on a theme I just mentioned, the gray areas of the law. the law is not black and white. You don't go in there and say the law says this, and so you get this result. There's vagaries and ambiguities. I have a piece of art in my office that is called Pages Legal, and it's a ceramic that was created by a cousin of mine who I had talked to about this particular concept, and she created this what looks like an open book, ceramic with ceramic gray pages, all tattered and torn, and she called it Pages Legal because there's no black and white areas of the law. The law is all gray. It's a very nice piece, and I think in terms of a takeaway, understanding that there's different perspectives on factual occurrences, different perspectives on the way to apply the law, and it's I won't say it's necessarily an art, but there's a lot of creativity to the practice of the law.
There's a lot of mastery, right? Because, I mean, you could call it the art versus the science, but I mean, the truth is you have to be a master at the craft. You have to fully immerse yourself and then be willing to listen at that point of pure consciousness.
Experience
to where
is
you
very
don't have
important.
to think about it, right? You're just driven, you're guided, you might say, by your experience. I love that thought. Yeah, that's really cool. So, David, anything else you want to make? Maybe if that question was posed to you, what would you say?
Well, I would go back to a theme we talked about credibility and the fact that trial and civil law is a truth-seeking exercise. And so the misconception is that if you hide the ball, that you're going to do better for yourself. That never works out for you.
Right?
And when I first came to this firm, what the most amazing thing to me was that the partners in this firm were the kind of guys who would never who dripped sincerity and who would never take a position that they couldn't defend. And I realized immediately, these are the last guys I would want on the other side of the courtroom for me. I want to be on their team.
Interesting. Well said.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, no one's keeping score, but there's been a couple points lofted up over in your direction so far, so good. That's why we got John Forrest Hilbert and David M. Parker of Anderson, Hilbert, and Parker in the house. You can catch them, by the way, at ahpfirm.com. That's ahpfirm.com. Or you can call them the old school way, right? At 619-233-8292. I'll give that number one more time. It's 619-233-8292. So coming up, gang, we'll get you caught up on a little, CBS sports commentary. After all, this is a sports channel, right? So I know there was a big football game last night. We'll see what's coming up from our guys over at CBS. And then we'll get a little bit more on the backside with John Forrest Hilbert and David M. Parker right after this.